Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ramblemancy tonight. I also want to, first of all, start off by welcoming AlphaDean. AlphaDean, welcome. Back to the show. We've had
Thanks,
you and
guys.
the other Cypher Unlimited guys before. Um, and I was just telling Dean a little while ago that we're going to slowly start making our way through each one of them individually. We'll have each of the Cypher Unlimited guys on here individually eventually. But Dean is our first, so so welcome, Dean. Thanks for being here.
Welcome back, man.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys inviting me out. So,
Yeah,
you know,
Gemini Lightning subscribed for 8 whole months. Oh my
Whoa,
gosh.
oh man,
It says 8 months too late, but never too late. Yep. Yeah. So, well, we're
true.
glad to have you here. Gonna run through and say hello, Geek Outs. Welcome, Amethyst Cat Lady. Our mod team is here in full force. Heart of
Nice.
Handprints, welcome. Rainy Keys, hello. Oh my gosh, Nico's here too. Nico, hi. Well, the whole mod team is here. Oh,
Oh man,
we're just missing
that's
John, but
awesome.
like,
Yep.
whew. Well, welcome everybody. Before we get started, just a couple of quick things going through. Karaoke Night 69, hello, welcome. A couple of quick things to get through before we get started. I'm sure I do not need to remind anybody, but I'm gonna do it anyway because we're just so dang excited about it. But our Tales from the Loop game, it came from the Loop, run by Caitlin, is going to be starting this coming Wednesday, the 23rd, and oh boy, I'm very excited. Also, just because it's here and I feel like it, I'm going to show you. We redid uh, the announcement image, so now it's backed with Caitlin's art. So we don't have to worry about you know usage. But also, in case you haven't seen it yet, we also have an excellent cast for that show coming up. And so we've got Alex Perkins, Remy Ripple, we've got Drac returning to the channel, and we have Aki from the Stream Punks, who they're all going to be part of that cast. And I am so
So
excited
cool.
to get to see all of these people play some dope games. It's going to be a really, really awesome cast. I've gotten a chance to talk with them all and heard a little bit about what they're planning, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Um, all right. Uh, we aren't having a stream tomorrow. Just as a no, there will not be a Saturday stream tomorrow. We have tentatively rescheduled the Borderlands stream with Bree, so that'll be coming up soon. Stay tuned for announcements on that. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that we've got for now. So let's get started. Dean, tell
yes,
you
sir.
tell us a little bit about what you've been working on because I know that some big news just came out today.
Well, I'm always working on stuff. I can't help it. The brain never shuts down. And Cypher System is just a wonderful playground to be creative in. So, couple of projects. I'm actually working with a few people on a few things that I can't necessarily reveal fully.
Mhm.
But I did just get the announcement today, though, that I made it on the Diamond Throne design team, as a
Yeah,
writer. So I'm pretty stoked about that these days.
yeah.
Um,
And
but,
for anybody who in the audience who isn't fully aware of what that is, could you like just quickly summarize what the Diamond Throne is?
Diamond Throne is the latest Kickstarter. It's a no game powered by the Cypher System. And the Diamond Throne was a Monty Cook setting that he created as an alternative way back in the 3.0 days. And it's a very rich fantasy world that does not necessarily have uh it's not necessarily steeped in your typical traditional European fantasy. It has layers and distancing and things like that. It's a very rich world, and it's being kickstarted now as a self-contained game. It has fully funded. It's gonna be awesome. It's a great setting. I can't wait to see the different things that are done with Cypher, and I can't wait to work on it myself. So
Yeah,
I'm I'm like a kid in a candy store right now, guys. I'm just being real cool because
Yeah,
I
just playing it
gotta,
down. Just playing it down.
I, I gotta be cool, but
Yeah.
inside I'm like, ah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, it's cool. That was announced today, right? That was
Yeah, they announced that I made it on the design team today,
excellent.
so
Wow.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um, still about 20 days to go on the Kickstarter, and they've already fully funded. They've opened up seven, 6 or 7 stretch goals.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's very much worth its weight.
Yeah.
You
I'm.
guys should take a look at it if you haven't. If you're out there, go to Kickstarter,
Yeah.
look up Diamond Monty Cook's Diamond Throne, and it'll come right up.
I'm always so impressed. Speaking of that, I'm always so impressed with the like just the quality of all the products that come out of Monte Cook Games. You know, like I'm so impressed all the time. You know.
What's funny is that yes, everything that comes from Monty Cook is great, but then you got to think Vert, beautiful set of books and everything. I think Monty Cook inspires a certain level of competence when it comes to developing something under their banner because Vert is Raven Dust Games.
Mm,
The new one, Diamond Throne, will be Here Be Dragon Games. So they're not, Monty Cook, but they just seem to take their inspiration,
right. Yeah.
Hmm.
you know, and it's a testament. Even, Shotguns and Sorcery, it has this art that speaks to kind of the games themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like. There's so many of like the products like Monte Cook Games and also like anyone who has basically made products for the for like Cypher and the like. There's so many of those that I've seen that have just they're so cool and like I really want them, but also I like somewhere in the back of my mind it's just like I'm never gonna have the opportunity to use this. Like I just won't. I will want to, and I'll sit there and stare at it on the shelf,
Mhm.
But and have all kinds of amazing ideas that I will never have time for. And that's always the
Mm.
struggle. I feel like
Yeah. Well,
Never say never.
you
that's
never know. Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
I mean, Dave, I'm living the dream, and this is something I've wanted to do for 30 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doors are open, and getting opportunity. So never say never.
Yeah,
And
that's.
if I turned off my virtual background and you saw my shelf, you'd be like, huh? Really?
I've seen your shelf. I've.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the how all that stuff turns out with Diamond Throne because it just like I haven't been following the Kickstarter, but I've like seen some of the announcements that have come out over the last like few months, and there's just been some really cool stuff that I've been excited for, like some. Yeah, and I'm always excited for new settings for the Cypher system and stuff like that coming out
But
because, yeah,
and for all you people out there who are D&D lovers and games that kind of run on that type of system, Pathfinder and stuff, Diamond Throne is going to actually introduce new races, really cool races, the Litorians, which are lion men, and the
yeah,
Sebekai, which are they're kind of canine in nature, kind of remind you of Anubis. They've got a race that's basically psionic. They are born with mental powers. So many cool things that Diamond Throne is just going to be. It's going to be like the bee's knees, and then you can plug it into Tolus and plug it into God Forsaken.
yeah,
Can you imagine? I just can't wait to see what kind of fantasy world I'm going to build
yeah,
Oh man.
because
yeah.
I do plan on running a campaign.
Oh, I would be disappointed if you said otherwise. Um, but yeah, no, that's really exciting. Like seriously, I mean, I said it to you before off stream, but also just seriously, congratulations. That is a
Yeah.
really really cool
Seriously.
thing.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very humbled in the face of all this. Still having my little moment on the inside.
Uh huh.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's So yeah, for tonight we don't actually have a specific topic because we figured this is a why limit our time with Dean by just having one specific thing to talk about,
True.
you know? So, so really, the sky's the limit right now. I mean, that's the same for you out there, chat. If you have questions, for us or for Dean, feel free to ask them because we will go off. As you've seen many times. So, yeah.
Per Pandian, who were you speaking to? You said how many degrees of tabletop are you away from Joe Magniello? You know, who are you making reference to for that question?
Oh man, I feel like that could go to either of us now.
Well, Joe has nothing on me.
Oh, Nico, you have a question. Yes, go for it. Go ahead and ask your question. I mean, both. Okay. All right. Both. Let's see. Let me let's see. Let me try to track that. So,
Huh.
I'm pretty sure it's 2 or 3 now with uh Aki being part of our cast, probably 2.
Hmm.
That's my
Mhm.
guess. I haven't actually sat and tracked it, but yeah, track the degrees of separation.
I got a picture of him with me.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's right. That's right. No,
We-
does that count? Because like
I don't know if that actually
I feel like
counts,
that counts
but
because then the answer is 0, like 0 degrees of
right.
separation.
I didn't know he was so tall. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, got it.
Um.
So what are we doing here? Let's see.
All right. Nico has a question. We all have the Cypher system here, but what is something you think could be expanded on or changed for the better within the rules of Cypher? Hmm.
Well, there's been a few things that I've implemented on my own, and then sometimes you see it come along. Um, One of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing how magic is going to be expanded upon to you know hopefully preserve the the spirit of Cipher, where it doesn't have to be everything defined for you,
Right.
but expansive enough for you to get that feeling of, what, I have a list of spells. I'm special. So that's one big thing I think could be done and should be done, and maybe put in as errata or something like that for the whole game.
Hmm. Yeah, you know what? That's interesting because like I actually had noticed that a little bit myself because I mean, really, when my experience with Cypher has largely been in like the kind of sci-fi or cyberpunk area,
Mm-hmm.
and so I haven't really paid much attention to what it would be like from the magic side in like playing actual fantasy in Cypher because I don't think I've actually ever done that. I played like a one shot of Numenera once, but that's kind of more
Mhm.
science fantasy a little bit, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but that is something that I was starting to
Hmm.
notice is like when it comes to magic in the Cypher system, compared to a system like like D&D where like you said it writes out kind of everything as kind of defined for you, like these are the spells that you can learn, that it seems almost a little bit dry. Obviously more open-ended because you can do kind of whatever kind of your imagination allows, but
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Just a little bit more language.
Mhm.
Where when you create an adept, if you, instead of saying that you get this ability and you just you know there should have probably, I would think they might need to go into a little more detail where they're going, these are you know easy access abilities that end up taking the flavor of whatever type of caster you are. If you're a fire, like say you were doing somebody from the Fire Nation, so you could literally give them, you know as an adept, and turn them into, but and so all their aspects would have a fire. Onslaught would be a fireball.
Right.
Cutting ray would be a stream of fire. You might change it to call it dragon breath or something like that. But those those thought processes, just to kind of feed into the thought process.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Now, see, you mentioned that, and now all I can think about, my mind just like took off with the idea of doing of like an Avatar themed cipher game.
that would be cool.
I feel like
Wuxia, well, I do have a wuxia system that I'm working on that I
ooh
plan to bring to
ooh
Cypher. It's
Huh.
all it's all about Cypher. We've actually play tested it a couple of times. Actual play on our Cypher Unlimited YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and it's the burning of Red Lotus Temple.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
And that's that kind of showcases some of the wuxia power and stuff that I came up with.
Yeah, that's a genre. That is a
Hmm.
genre that I don't know that I've ever explored it in tabletop games, but like it's definitely one that is it's always deeply fascinating to me. Like I love the wuxia genre. Like I have comparatively little experience in it, but like just sort of it's just a fascinating genre to me. Like I can't get enough of it. So
Well, as a kid, I was basically, you know, every Saturday morning, it was Kung Fu theater Saturday mornings.
yeah,
And, we would go to the local movie theater. We'd see double features. I've been studying martial arts for 45 years now,
yeah,
never going to, and probably never going to stop.
Hmm.
You know, it's just that type of thing. So yeah, it is a great, multifaceted genre to explore.
yeah, yeah.
So like
Also,
just to throw out
Hmm.
there, yeah, it's the concept I'm working on is wuxia, but I also love pulp, so I want
hmm,
to build a pulp wuxia world. So
Oh,
that's excellent.
that's cool.
Also, Amethyst Cat Lady says, an Avatar: The Last Airbender game on this channel, nobody would like that. No, never. None of us.
nobody.
None of
Nah.
us would. I've never even seen the show. What are you talking about?
What's an
You mean that James Cameron movie, right, with the
Yeah,
blue
that's the
people?
one. That's the. I can already hear the mod swords being pointed in our direction.
Yeah, I can feel it.
I can feel it right now.
What's an avatar?
uh, um, yeah. So actually, that's a good question. I have a question for you, Dean, which is because you have a lot of experience in design, both in the Cypher system and outside of it, correct?
Yes.
So like what are some of the projects from your design past that have been kind of like your greatest sources of pride?
Um. Well, there's one that never saw the light of day, and it's
Mm.
basically because of Cypher System. It didn't see the light of day.
Hmm.
Um. It had to be around 2000. I say 2005. Between 2005 and 2010, gaming had become very lackluster to me. I was losing
Mm.
my desire to be involved, and so I did what any person who loves gaming does. I started designing my own. Um, the concept was to have baseline archetypes. Sounds like you know Cypher System, but it's
Right.
baseline archetypes, and then you would have skills that fell under each of the baseline archetypes. You were allowed to choose skills from all the archetypes. It just cost you more when you were picking skills outside your archetype. Okay. So it
Hmm.
allowed for ultimate customization. Everybody starts out, the balance comes in because everybody starts out the same number of points to spend. Um, but you built what you wanted in that respect.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that was a brilliant design idea. And then Monty Cook came along with Cypher System, and it kind of was like, well, he's already doing this. So let me play with his and I don't have to do any work. But I thought that was pretty good. And then the other one I did was I designed a one-page superhero game about 25 years ago,
Hmm.
where you basically would pick your hero and it was all based on uh, fundamental forces. So did you want to be gravid, if it was gravimetric in nature, whatever, then that means you could be either super strong or you could smash, things, or you might have gravity control, but they were broad encompassing ideas. And I thought it was pretty good, and that's what I called it. I called it fundamental heroes.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That is awesome. So essentially, Monty Cook beat you to the punch, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh well.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, now you get to work on a cipher project, so
It all worked out for the
it all
good.
worked out.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Like I I will say that my entry into tabletop gaming actually started out very much with it's kind of coming at it the opposite way, where I was looking at what I thought I understood about tabletop gaming and decided
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like. And then I was like, you know what? I could kind of like though, maybe designing my own. And that was an unmitigated disaster because I didn't have the context of any other game to
It
to
was.
back it up. And it was just Freeman was in that game,
I
so
was in. Yes, I was present for this.
Freeman was part
Oh,
of that. He was part of
still
the
good times though.
yeah.
Still good times.
And see that's the other side of the coin.
Hmm.
Um, the rules don't mean you can't have a good time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
We were getting down to the heart of the matter.
yeah. I mean, it's you know here's a way to look at it. I've been doing this game thing, like I said, for okay, I'm gonna date myself since 1977, so 43 years.
Mm.
I've been rolling these math rocks, and I've played a lot of different games, and it's funny because there's a shift in everything, and that shift is kind of interesting because early on games had Spartan rules didn't dictate the game. The game master was actually forced in a lot of places to do it as opposed to being encouraged. You just had no choice but to house rule and do whatever. But the games were still more narrative in nature. They were
Mm.
more story and epically pushed. Then we
Mhm.
got to that period where everything became here's a book, and in the book is everything you need to know. You know what? There
Yeah.
was a formula for you to take 3 breaths, and
Mhm.
do CPR in some games. I mean, it's craziness how much that happened. And now where there's another shift coming where now instead of the old games, that are giving all the answers, they're still there and they're still on top. But there's this greater cry for being able to go back to your childhood and
Yep.
let's play
Absolutely.
pretend. You don't have a lot of rules governing you.
Mhm.
And what the brilliance of what Monty Cook has done with Cypher System is he's first of all he's made it modular.
Hmm.
Second of all, there's enough rules. There's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's enough rules. And then here's that the coolest reality of it is that uh most of those rules, 90% of those, 99% of those rules are built for the players.
Yeah.
And it's just to keep your
Mhm.
players in line because you as the game master are totally and utterly free. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
flip out, do your thing.
That was actually my learning curve in the Cypher system, was realizing that distinction, like that,
Mhm.
it took me so long to realize that distinction, that the rules were there for the players primarily, and not only to keep them in line, but also to unlimited creativity can sometimes be very
Right.
limiting, and
Right.
it's sort of to put the bounds right in there so that within which creativity can flourish. But the thing
Huh.
that took me forever in Cypher is really just sort of like hesitating, going like, oh god, is that a thing that I'm allowed to do? Is that how that's supposed to work? And the answer is yes, always yes. You get to do
If
yeah.
if you get the time, there's we have another place, Angel Citadel, um, their blog, and the Angel Citadel blog. They're a great guy. They're a great bunch too. They're part of the Cypher Unlimited family as well, and they have a blog, and I actually have an article on there called "The Paradigm Shift"
Mm.
that
Mm.
addresses that
Oh,
completely.
cool.
You
Huh.
know, and it was something I had to learn because I was getting frustrated because I was already there
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I would forget that what, hey, this guy just started playing 2 years ago. He has no context
Yeah.
to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I Nico, one of our mods says, Deans in my brain definitely work on the same fuels. So Nico's a designer as well. Like he likes to tinker and make
oh
new
yeah,
systems, mess with systems, and yeah. Some of the stuff that he's done has, yes, Nico, I'm calling you out. Some of the stuff that he's done has actually been super cool and like fun to
Yep.
look at, like kind of the stuff that he's been putting together.
nice.
Um, Gemini Lightning says Cypher allows for each GM to decide how much control they want over their world, and that is what makes it amazing, in my opinion. Yeah,
Agree.
I think that's
I
really
can
cool.
see.
And this is the thing. I don't know if I've said this to you before, Dean, but I it's something that I talk about pretty frequently. That I always feel like with D&D, the other kind of like the major pillar kind of the behemoth in the tabletop RPG world. I always feel like it's a game that has designed dozens and dozens and dozens of ways to say no to your players, and it kind of makes you do that. You know, it like sure you as the GM get to decide like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna be harsh on this one. I'm not gonna implement this one here or whatever, but primarily most of the rules in that game are ways of telling your players no. And I feel like Cypher does exactly the opposite. It explicitly tells you, say yes to your players. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, think about this way. You with Cypher System, you even have enough control in 50 to 60% of your position, especially at least 50% in your lower tier days, because low tier you're going to be like, okay, it's a difficulty 4, or it's a difficulty 3. You're not really trying to go across, over the mulberry bush with crazy numbers until maybe they're getting to a big boss or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about that. A player can go, well, look, I got training, an asset, and I'm gonna put a level of effort. You just reduced a 4 difficulty to a 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if somebody else assisted and gave them another asset of some sort, it's a 0. They don't even have to roll the dice. Then it's truly their choice to go, I want to roll to see if I get a 20 for, amazing things to happen. And the rule I always do, you can do that. But if you roll a 1, I still get a GM intrusion for free. It's not gonna negate that you got it done, but I'm getting my intrusion. So, and that's what I'm saying. Cypher System empowers you to plug in and be like, boom, here's an option.
And that's the other thing that I love about that. And another game that has a similar system to the intrusion is Star Trek Adventures, that has the complications.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Where there's a possibility. I love when a game is not sort of a simple binary of like succeed, fail, right? Where there's like there's an option where you succeed, but
with a consequence.
with a consequence. I love that. I honestly, I love any system that allows a sort of barter between the GM and the players. I love that kind of thing. Where I had a player ask me about how a certain, if like there was a specific thing that they wanted to do, and like that one of their abilities isn't normally supposed to do, and like because it's sort of like a temporary sort of manifestation. It's under the Awakens Dreams focus, and she asked me if there was like if she could create this thing and like somehow make it permanent, and I said, spend an XP and I'll let you do it, and like done. Like no going through the rules to see like find out like the obscure wording and like finagle with it. No, it's just like give me an XP and
give me XP.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said, we were using player intrusions before player intrusions were a thing.
Yeah.
We charged 2 XP for them. We said, okay, if you want, you as a player. But what I like about how Monty Cook did it, it still make sense. Where the player intrusions are more tailored to their type.
Right.
And I think that's a cool way. Okay, it's 1 XP tailored to your type. So and that's what you should be doing your intrusions in anyway. And I think it empowers, not just empowers, but encourages players to look deeper into their character, and bring more personality to the table. That's what I dig about character arcs. I think character arcs are another brilliant piece of work.
Yeah.
And it encourages the role play. And since I get to reward you for role play, I'm not rewarding you about how many monsters you kill or how many bad guys you face. I'm rewarding you for driving the story.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that
tools to do that are absolutely awesome in my book.
Yeah, and that goes right along with what Nico said a little while ago, which is Cypher is an RPG, whereas something like D&D is an RPG. So where emphasis on the game part of the game, whereas Cypher focuses on the other part, like the what I think personally is the important part for me, right? The narrative, the role playing part,
I agree, and I'll disagree with you as well, because there is an aspect that the game part is very important. Sometimes just getting out there and getting to roll your little shiny math rocks, makes the day. So
Oh
True.
yeah.
they both have their place. I love a healthy balance. I love to
Yeah.
to counterbalance, my games. And now I've had sessions that have run their full gamut, 2, 4, 6 hour session that would end up being all RP.
Yep.
Not a single dice is rolled because everybody's just into the role playing aspects. There's no need to try to figure out a pick or anything else. So okay, if we have a session like that, then you better believe that the next session we get to, it's going to be some like explosions and
Yeah.
dodging meteorites
Yep.
and everything that you could think
Absolutely.
of, only because I don't want anybody to get stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, and I think for me, when I say that RP is the most important part of it, I mean that even when we're doing the game part of it, I still want it to be driven by the
Oh,
narrative, and
absolutely.
like the
Mhm.
the role playing part. So like the game part should, in my like in a for me, in a perfect game, the
Mm.
the game part is always there to support the RP side of it, you know.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important, because like you, I'm a big fan of every once in a while, having like in D&D, for instance. I'm a big fan of every once in a while, not all the time, and this isn't the only thing that I do, but every once in a while I like having those mechanically crunchy, like dungeon crawl, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun sometimes. I wouldn't make a habit of it. It'd get old very quickly,
Right.
but
Well, at this point, like I'm sort of missing it just because we haven't had a home D&D game
right.
for a few months.
Yeah.
I would love to get back to the crunch a little bit, but
Well, and just so everybody knows too, I definitely am not. I still purchase other games, and I did have a 5 year hiatus because I was in a deep committed love affair with Cypher, and but I've come out of my shell. I'm actually running other things again because that's important too. If you want to be a well-rounded GM,
Yeah.
run other games because they're
Mm,
going to give you perspectives, you know, and things about Cypher, because Cypher isn't about punishing your players. It's not the GM versus the players, like as it has been touted in some games and promoted in others, and sometimes it's the thought process that happens at the table. Um, I say all that to say that Cypher doesn't do that, and
yeah.
you can just have your negativity, quote unquote, rolling once and things like that support your narrative,
Yeah.
and
And I
I've done that. It's taught me to be that kind of GM.
Absolutely. And I think Nico makes an excellent point, kind of adding on to that, which is it says, oh, yeah, for sure. I think that it is important to recognize what each system excels at and focuses on. And I agree, because you can absolutely have a miserable experience playing an otherwise excellent game, but trying to make it do something that it wasn't designed to do.
exactly.
If you, like, that can work, but it requires a lot more work on the part of the GM, a lot more buy-in on the part of the players, a lot more just sort of uh, yeah, it can work, but it also is so much more likely to just be a miserable time for everybody.
Right. Well, working
Well,
against yourself a bit,
Yeah.
well, even with that though, and there's a methodology with that as well.
Mhm.
What you have to remember is a crunchier game can be softened up, if you will,
Mhm.
flexed, so you can get more of a hybrid style game. A game that is built on fewer rules, less crunch, you're going to have a very difficult time doing it in reverse, only because you have no baseline to work from,
Right.
because it doesn't have a structure like that. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you try to reverse engineer a Powered by the Apocalypse game, you're gonna, you might just call it
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um oh,
True.
Spigs is in the chat. Hey, Anthony.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you, man. Um let's see. I saw Gemini Lightning. You
Who's Gremlin Lightning?
Gemini Lightning says, "Oh, by the way, in case Dean doesn't know, Lucas is brilliant. The cast of Rule of Lore are amazing players, and nothing will make me change my mind."
Well,
So,
Gremlin Lightning, just so you know, I know they're brilliant. Those are my those are my sons. You didn't realize I do hold the title of the Aslan of the gaming world. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
so these are my these are my pages. You know,
Yeah.
that's why they're so awesome.
Yeah. We have been in the presence of the Alpha Dean, and
Oh.
therefore.
You know, and you can't forget. And then, like I said, we've got an ancient albatross and Spigs 18. So you just don't know. Their mentorship is complete. I'm
Yeah,
talking about the circle is complete.
absolutely. See, I feel like my journey in the tabletop gaming world will never be complete until I like sit at a table with you guys.
This is true.
Whenever you're ready,
Yeah.
you know, just let us know. Listen, we got some stuff coming up anyway. You see that symbol behind me, people? That symbol
Yeah.
right there?
Yeah.
That's Cypher Systems GM Roulette coming to a tabletop near you real soon.
Oh, that's cool.
So just
Yeah.
so you guys know, you
Yeah.
know.
Love it.
Um so I want to say Angel Citadel Josh, hey, welcome to chat.
Hey.
Hey
Um
Josh, woo.
Drac has subscribed for 3 months. Welcome, Drac. Drac, as I've mentioned before, Drac is going to be a returning guest to Rule of Lore with the with It Came from the Loop. So, welcome, Drac. Um, yeah. Uh, oh,
I have a request
mm,
for a rule of lore.
yeah.
I'm digging all your actual plays and all of that, you know. But you guys should do some one shots. I got a cool idea. I'll bounce off you guys'
Yeah.
heads, you know.
All right, we'll have to talk about that because
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be.
this
I
is
like it.
actually it's funny because this has actually been like the thing that Henry's been trying to like push us to do since like the
True.
very beginning. He's like, we should do some one shots sometime,
Yeah.
and that's always kind of been part of the plan. And now that we've actually kind of gotten our feet under us a little bit, like with the whole streaming thing, we got it kind of figured out. I feel like we can start actually looking at that. So yes.
Yeah, you do a couple of one shots. I mean, because I'd love to play, you know, love
Mhm.
to run you guys in something. You know,
Ooh.
I'm actually experimenting with a whole superhero idea for Cypher right now. I've run 2 sessions, and it's going coming along pretty good. And basically, the concept is your characters are normal, mundane humans. You don't pick your focus. Your focus is built through gameplay.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
So you actually
cool.
start out. You literally start out as just a person. You start out
Uh-huh.
basically a name and descriptor. Actually, what I did was use the Cypher short
Uh-huh.
characters,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll gestate into a type and
Oh,
build and your focus will happen organically through your
Yeah.
gameplay
that's
and
really
randomly.
cool.
Yeah. So
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That sounds like my kind of play.
and
I
once
sort of do
again,
that already.
but once again, here's the crazy part. I've done no true modification to the Cypher system rules.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was added numbers so I could get random rolls for you guys to make a pool of whatever's floating around you, so
Hmm.
you can start building your you know
Ooh,
your
That's
foci.
cool.
that sounds kind
So
of awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds
oh
like
yeah,
there's.
yes, definitely superheroes. Draconique.
Hmm.
I am I am the Alpha Dean. I love superheroes.
It
It's my
sounds like
jam.
that your idea for one shots is really resonating. I see a bunch of people.
Mhm.
Rainy Key says, "Ooh, one shot sounds interesting. A nice little bit thing." Yeah. Gemini Lightning says, "Have someone else than Lucas GM," and then Rainy Keys says, "Give Lucas a break 2020."
20. Yeah. Fair enough.
Oh gosh. Oh, Amethyst, sorry you're having tech issues, but welcome back.
Hey.
Um,
The tech. It be that way sometimes.
Anthony says, I am so excited you guys are doing Tales from the Loop. Me too. I am excited to. I think this is since, not since Dreamwell Chronicles, I think. I haven't really been able to be in the audience, so I'm really excited to see what
Mhm.
Caitlin does with the Tales from the Loop system.
Me
It's
too.
gonna be
Tales from the Loop is awesome.
yeah, it's something that I'd love to play at some point. Like the very first time I actually got a chance to look at the book is when we decided that we were going to be running the the game on this channel, and I'm yeah, I'm so excited to see what comes of it, but I'm also like a growing interest in actually playing it at some point.
Mhm.
Watch the Amazon show.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's funny,
It's
actually. Caitlin did that for research, for
it's
research
it
and tone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The tone
Hmm.
is they did. I think they did a pretty doggone good job. It's one of those things that I put high on the list.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Sorry, trying to catch up with chat. Chat just kind of exploded here for a second.
It's always
Um.
good to see.
Let's see.
It's always fun.
Um, what Tales from the Loop? What is this game you speak of? Yeah, Drac has no idea what we're talking about. Definitely,
Tales from the
definitely
Loop.
never heard. No,
Oh my God, it's an awesome game.
he's one of the cast members in the show, so he's
Oh, he knows the
he
game.
knows, he knows. Drac knows what he did. Uh, um, yeah, exactly, Raining Keys. You're always chaos firecrackers in chat, and I appreciate that.
Hmm.
um, yeah. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say? Something about um
Okay,
oh
you chaos gremlin.
yeah. So I remember what I was gonna ask. Dean, I actually had a question for you. Back to the subject of like running different games. What are some of your favorites that you've run outside of Cypher and like yeah, what are some of your favorites?
Um, well, Cortex Prime is some good stuff.
Mm,
I'm actually, have their playtest there from the last Kickstarter, so it's Cortex Prime now. The last you guys probably heard of it was Cortex Plus, but it powered a lot of the Margaret Weis games, Leverage, Smallville,
oh,
um, all
I
those
think
games.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
In some respects, it's similar to Savage World System, because it uses multiple dice, in different trait areas and so on and so forth. But it is a very crunchy, if you compare it to Cypher, it's a very crunchy narrative system. But the system also is built to encourage the role play. There's a pool of dice called the Doom pool, and that's how the game master gets his dice to roll.
Hmm.
Because
Nice. Yeah.
the players power it by the things that they want to do.
Okay.
Um, it's so that game I enjoyed. That's a more recent game. An older game, I was kind of hooked on the games that use percentage dice for a while,
Mm.
D100. And there was a game years ago called Psy World, and it was like, I guess, but everybody just got ended up with some sort of psychic powers. It was, but you could play it, you know, present day, near future, or far into the future. It was built like that. But it was one of those games that came in one of those little, inch and a half wide boxes, and
Oh.
the rules
Hmm.
were like pamphlets,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But that was just an awesome game. The meat of it, what it inspired, was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Sorry, I just saw in chat that Gemini Lightning says that Cortex Prime is what Motherland's RPG is based on. Okay, the that's the thing that Cipher of Tyr and their team are working on, right? That
Well,
sounds
it
yeah.
well Cortex Prime will be out soon,
Hmm.
and there are like 10 spotlight settings that were built through the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
Cortex is good stuff.
Yeah. I can't say I'm familiar with it at all,
Yeah.
but
Same.
that sounds yeah. But
Yeah.
okay. Okay, yeah,
I
cool.
think there's some quick start rules out there. I'll locate them and give them to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested. I mean, like I said, I'm always interested in like learning about new systems and even learning some new systems, even if I'm not gonna ever get a chance to run them, probably. But cause see, like the thing, this is where you and I kind of differ a bit here, Dean, because where you like a lot of you like one shots and short term kind of games. I'm a campaign guy. I gotta be. Like it's so hard for me to organize around short term games, and I've been very vocal on many occasions about how I hate running one shots. I
Well,
hate it.
see, I've learned I've learned a way to get through that because
Hmm.
actually I am super campaign guy. It's Anthony and Al who kind of have migrated me to doing the one
Oh,
shots.
okay. For some reason,
You
I thought it was
know,
the other way around. I don't know why I thought
no,
that.
no, no,
Okay.
no. I love a campaign.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
I've run a camp. I ran a campaign that lasted almost 25 years. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
it
Oh, whoa.
wasn't
Okay.
until it really wasn't until people really started diverging and moving away
Hmm.
that the campaign broke down.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm definitely the campaign guy, but I do one shots because I still have to get my fix.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
True.
life has, you know, I have to do things. You know, I have to go to work. You know, I'm older. I have to go to sleep now. I can't stay up 24 hours. I can only do about 20.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
and I got to write stuff. You know, the creativity thing has exploded. So I can't, it's like,
Mm.
it's just stuff pouring out of my head and it's coming out in all different directions. And it seems like every time something new comes up, I just get more excited.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't run any games to give a proper answer to that, so I like them both.
Okay, so here's a thought, Freeman. Then I have actually a
Yeah.
question for you because I
Okay.
don't actually think I've asked you this question before. But
Oh, maybe.
if you ran a game, what would you want
Yeah.
to run?
I'd want to do a one shot.
Oh, I meant like, well, that too,
Oh, I'm
what
sorry.
but like
Yeah.
system or type of game or like, do you have ideas?
Um, I'd probably do some Dungeons and Dragons or maybe some Outbreak Undead.
Ooh,
As long as everyone was down
yeah.
that would be cool.
with that kind of system. And I don't know if I'd do it exactly the way it is in the book, but because the way it is in the book, if I'm not mistaken, is you play as yourself, or that's an
Oh, you
option.
can. There's a way of doing.
Okay, that's
There,
an
they
option.
have like a way in the game to like build yourself into an RPG
Yeah,
character.
because I always thought about
But
doing that, and I thought I don't know about that exactly, especially currently.
mm-hmm.
So I would like to still wander the land of imagination, just in a zombie apocalypse. Because I'm
Yeah.
Well,
a big fan.
you should talk to Spigs because you know that's his jam. He's
Oh,
run
is
up.
it his jam?
He's This is jam, and we've
Man.
played. He has one called uh God Doesn't Love Us Anymore,
Hmm.
and the game is all the player characters are survivors, and they're on the Intrepid Museum in New York. They're holed up there, and man, he's got that down pat. The tone, the rhythm, the pacing, you know, and it's a one shot. It's like literally being in a George Romero movie. You
Huh.
know,
Oh, cool.
you should talk. I think that might be on our stream as well. But man, Anthony does his thing when it comes to some horror stuff.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. I'm going through. Oh, Rainicky says I kind of like Quest. Is that a system Quest, or is that was that as a reference to something else?
I
Um.
think Quest is a system.
Okay. All right. Dark Matter is great as well. Starfinder, I haven't. Yeah, I'm interested in Starfinder. Although I became slightly less interested in Starfinder when I realized it was basically just Pathfinder first edition, but
Pathfinder
just
is safe.
which is like fine. I don't there are things about that system I miss. Uh, but at the time when I was looking into Starfinder, it was when I was really getting into fifth edition D&D. So like going from Pathfinder to 5e, and then the prospect of going back to the Pathfinder rule set just was a real turnoff. But I think I will do it eventually. It's just that at the time, it was just sort of the mood I was in at the time.
Pathfinder 2.
Hmm. I know nothing about it.
Same.
I know absolutely nothing about it.
To
Pathfinder 2, what's crazy is Pathfinder 2 is still a D20 system.
Right.
It is still you can still very much see its influences, but they've done enough change and enough nuance now that it is its own thing.
Hmm.
You literally feel like you're playing Pathfinder, you know,
Wow.
Pathfinder versus I'm playing D&D 5.75. You know,
Right.
this is
Right.
Pathfinder. They're their own thing now. And you know, their character building is more it's more narrative based. Their
Interesting.
character building process, you know, you pick your class, you pick your ancestry, you pick your background. All of these things give you skills,
Mm.
gives
Mm-hmm.
you, you know, portent in that realm. So and also so it's giving you story ideas because let's you pick a background. Let's just say you pick burglar background, or thievery background. So now you can decide: was I living on the streets? Why was I a thief? Where did this come from? Your ancestry is of course, your race, and it goes into, you know, items of note for that particular type of character for you to choose from. And of course, uh, your class gives you what it gives you. You get hit points like that, so you don't start out paper mache. Characters literally,
Right.
fighter characters start out with, at least you can start out to what, up to like 20, 25 hit points and stuff like that. So it's become its own unique thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I've heard a lot of I've heard the mixed things that people have said about it. I've heard really, really positive stuff. I've heard really, really negative stuff. But like nobody other until just now, nobody has been particularly specific with like the things that are good about it. So that's good to hear. I'm certainly interested. That's for sure.
My you guys probably already know it about me, but one thing about me, about AD, is that I don't talk about things I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know, I'm going to give you
Yeah.
Mhm.
let me find out, and then we can
Yeah.
talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't order a game without reading the book. you know I
Yeah.
mean, some of them might take me longer to get through than others, but every book on my shelf I've read. you know um and I just want to, I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, give that kind of understanding that D&D is D&D, and it has its merits. And the only bad D&D games, really, it's not the D&D is the problem. It's the game master, or it's the table
Mm.
you're sitting at.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest enough with yourself. Hey, I don't resonate with this table too well.
Mhm.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Keep your head on. Pay attention. Or if you're a game master and you got a problem child, have a conversation. Let me talk to you for a minute, guy. Let's get this together.
Yeah.
And I think we just got to get to that point that we're not afraid to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's extremely important. I remember there was a period of time where I was frequenting subreddits about like D&D and running D&D, and I remember there's one in particular that's like generally geared towards like new DMs, and I remember being like browsing uh, that subreddit for a while, and there were so many questions, and it was astounding to me how many of the like issues that people were having. They were asking these questions of the forum, and like 99.9% of the time the answer to their question was talk to your players. And like that's something that yeah, Nico says it, communication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And like that's so important, not just in just running your games, but also just the part I think that too often gets forgotten, which is the meta part of the game, right? That you might be sitting down to play some Cypher or some D&D or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're still a group of people sitting around a table.
Mhm.
And
There was a big thing came up on our boards. I don't remember who said it.
mhm.
If you really want to look at it, I think you have to go into the Cypher System channel and scroll back a few days. But there was a big discussion about um, one player being disruptive, you know, and the disruption wasn't because the player was being a jerk or anything, but the player was so into character, and I
Mhm.
air quote that
Right.
because you're also supposed to be aware enough to know you're getting on people's
Yeah.
nerves. But he was so into character, he was playing his character, but he was playing his character to a fault,
Mhm.
you know, which, if we're talking about, these type of games and the people and everything else, that's good reason for us to just shoot you in the back of the head, murk you, when you're going against
Yeah.
the consensus of the group. You're
Mhm.
supposed to go along with your group
Yeah.
with, protest, but you go along with your group because it's a social convention that we're doing here. story doesn't move forward, especially if we get it at a stalemate. And see, the GM, in some respects, being a new GM, I can't fault them, because you had all the power in the fingertip, and
Yeah.
it ain't even a fingertip. It's just, guess what? GM intrusion, you know, and GM intrusion could have cleared up a lot of your problems, but I think that's stuff that comes with time. You get people confident enough that you can go, like I know if we were ever sit down at the table, hey Freeman, come here, let me talk to you for a minute, such, and we could have a conversation
Yeah.
and get past it.
Yeah.
And I think because I've played so long, that's how come I'm at the point I'm at, that I'm just willing to talk to you. You know.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I think about this a lot because specifically for, when it comes to streamed games, there's an interesting dynamic that comes there, right? Because when you're running a game at a table, your audience, as the GM, your audience is the players, and as the players, your audience is each other, right? But when you're
Mm-hmm.
streaming, there's an audience outside of that, right? And
Exactly.
and that
Yeah.
creates an interesting separation and dynamic, which means that there's a little bit more, depending on the type of game that you're streaming, right? If it's a much more narrative game, then you get the opportunity to like sit down with each other and say, okay, hey, I had this idea of like this is a thing that I think would be cool for our characters to get into, and if they could get into like this kind of conflict or whatever in this moment, and then talk it out. But and so like there's that. But I think but that's something that, and I was thinking about this recently in that context, but because it's something that we've kind of been doing a little bit with Infinite Horizon, but over the course of the whole series. But then I thought about it a little bit deeper, and I realized that I've actually done this before in a non-streamed game where John, and I kind of wish he was here to talk about it because we've mentioned it before. It comes up every couple of weeks or so where we talk about the fact that we had these characters that we made in a 3.5, a D&D 3.5 game. We had these characters that we made where like we were telling each other about our characters before we started the game, and John was like, dude, you know our characters are going to hate each other, right? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And then we like talked through how their conflict would progress throughout things, right? And like it's all about communication is the point that I'm getting to. Communicating,
Right.
Absolutely.
And there should also be a particular type of buy-in as well.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm playing at a table with people I know, like you, John Freeman, you guys know each other. You've got a specific type of bond, so you already know that if you guys start some kind of conflict or whatever, you already got to know that how far it's going to go, and you've got an idea. Even if it becomes improvisational. But if you're sitting down at a table with a group that you've never played with before, a group of strangers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, there's a different set of rules that come into play. Just like when I go to a con, con GM AD is different from
Mm.
campaign with a bunch of friends
Yeah.
AD GM,
Yeah.
versus AD who gets to go to the game store and do demos, for people. Those are three different contexts of who I am and what my table looks like.
Yeah.
So, but nail on the head, communication, and you can let that bleed over into your real life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I did, and I'm absolutely and utterly happy. You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't really pick up on that from you. But that's
So,
but that is an interesting point that you brought up there at the end, which is the idea of like of game bleed, which is it's something that we've talked about before when we had Ray from Friends Who Roll Dice before. We talked about the
Yeah.
idea of like of bleed happening between like from your game into your real life, vice versa.
mhm.
And I think that's such an interesting thing, right? Like I can definitely, like anything taken to an extreme can be toxic and detrimental, but like there's positive ways that it can happen too, right?
Right.
Like for instance, like you're talking about like the context of the game, learning better communication skills in game, also taking those into your real life with you, For me, I think a lot of it, like the biggest one that I can imagine that I can think about is like, and I think this is one of the ones that comes up most often when people are talking about this, which is social skills, right?
Mhm.
The ability to, in game, as a GM, this NPC might have really high charisma, so I have to try to bring that off, and
Exactly.
it's different as the GM, because with a player, if you're playing a game, you have the dice to fall back on, right? You have your stats. So
Right.
if you're not a particularly well-spoken person, or a very like not a particularly normally like you're kind of shy or whatever, but you're playing a very charismatic character, you have your stats to fall back on, right?
Yes.
As the GM, you don't get that because you can't. I mean, you can, I suppose, but because there's a certain amount of understanding that happens between players and GM, but like you can't fall back on your stats necessarily because
Oh yeah, I get it.
yeah,
It makes sense. Because you can't. Sometimes you can't fall back on your stats because guess what? You've got you know 32 NPCs that you're playing. And they decide they want to interact with the guy that you didn't stat up.
right.
That's how it goes. I'm telling
Oh
you.
man, I'm
Always.
sure that's yep.
Oh, I'm warning you now, Freeman. So you're gonna stat up that D one shot. I'm telling you right now, be ready
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna be the street urchin with one tooth and half a finger, you know,
That's my
and that's
favorite
gonna be the
guy.
person that's the person they want to talk to. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like, oh damn, I
Fair.
okay, 2 minutes, you got to stat him out real quick because you never know your players
Yeah.
might decide they're gonna attack or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always that guy. But yeah, and you just it allows you to become you're right, social skills, confidence, communication, the whole nine. It's a really great mixed bag.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, oh wait a minute, do you think tabletop should come with tutorial adventures?
Hmm.
Well, most games come with what they call an introductory adventure. It's normally simplistic enough that it is literally a tutorial. It's just not titled tutorial, but you know any game worth its salt normally has a few pages in the back of the book to get your creative juices going in that particular type of realm.
Yeah. I've thought about this actually. This question too. I've thought about this before. Um, I I think my answer is kind of the same. Like it's if I'm running a game, I think Nico, are you referring to like games as like as products, or do you mean like games as in like the one being run at a specific table, like from game to game? Because I have an answer for both, and the first one, the answer to the first one is I think what Dean said is that first of all, a lot of games kind of do have that a little bit, but I think it's helpful because it helps you get more often than not if I'm learning. Okay, if I'm learning a game, the easiest like I can read that book, I can read it cover to cover. I've never done that, but I can read it cover to cover, and I will not understand until I'm actually doing it. So I think that's having sort of something like you said, Dean, something a little bit more simplistic than like what a normal game would do, like a simplistic adventure, kind of that gives you the idea. Useful thing, super useful thing.
The Worlds of the Cypher System books do it.
Mm-hmm.
Gods of the Fall, Unmasked, um, Predation,
Yeah,
all have a kind of I say kind of a stripped down adventure there for you to play,
yeah,
and all three of them are great. They're great introductory ways to get people, and if you read, and I think that's another advantage that Cipher System and more narrative powered games have is because of the way they write the adventures. Their adventures are not written with this is a 10 by 14 room and um, you know
yeah,
the ceilings are 6 feet high and so on and so forth. It's you're not going to get that kind of distinction because that portion isn't necessary. What you are going to get is you step into a room and the walls are mirrored and the sun catches the mirrors at just the right angle that that you always seem to be in a silhouette in those mirrors except for in one spot. you know that's
right,
that thing, you know.
yeah,
Um, and I dig it. I dig both sides of that coin, but it's how you go about approaching it.
yeah. Jason
Hmm.
C. Art, first of all, welcome.
Hey.
Says I read Cipher System 3 times, but I still played a few one shots before I tried to run a game. Yeah, yeah. I think I ran a couple one shots of Cipher because I
Yeah.
like you I read it a couple of times didn't fully understand, and basically got to a point where it I reached a point where like I wasn't taking in any more information. I just had to run it. I just had to run it and see. And that it helped enormously. So I would say, Nico says, and for tutorial, I mean an adventure that actively breaks the story's narrative and restricts both the players and the GM just enough to teach them the core rules of the game. You know,
And see, for some games, I think that's necessary.
mm-hmm.
Nico, I think that's necessary for your more crunch heavy games.
Mm.
For a
Yeah,
narrative game, you don't need anything to restrict, especially if your rules support the narrative.
right. Yeah,
You know, um,
Mm.
yeah. My thought goes back to when I first learned Pathfinder. I learned it
Oh
from
man.
the starter box, right? Like the
Hmm.
starter set, which was very simplistic rules. It had which actually ended up being a little bit more complicated later on when we switched to like the normal rules of the game. But we ended up with some like bad habits from the first game that, or from the simplified version, uh,
Hmm.
but that carried over into like the normal version. But that adventure was perfect for learning the system, and that was extremely helpful. But I agree with you, Dean. I don't know that it would be as useful in like a more narrative game like Cypher. I don't know that it would be as useful there.
because the rules support the narrative,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting that you're getting the support you're looking for. Um, like the Gods of the Fall adventure. Okay, Drac Draconiques. I'm gonna plug your ears because I'm gonna say a couple of things about the starter adventure.
Yeah.
If you don't care about a little spoiler, if you don't worry about metagaming, so you've been warned. Here I go. Um, the starting adventure that they give you in back of Gods of the Fall is a prime example because what it does is the way it's written and the way it's supposed to progress is that the characters first this is their first experience realizing that they have divine power. Then from them having divine power, the discovery of divine power and how to give that give them that through the narrative and through the game. That's the first part. The second part is an action sequence. It's boom boom, get to see how the dice work, and get to see how I'm adding and subtracting and so on and so forth. There's that combat. The third aspect of it is the socialization and what character connections,
Mm, yeah.
character. I look at character connections as early seed material for character arcs. So by using the pre-generated characters, using the connections that they have on the sheet, and following that first adventure, you're like, boom, bang, oh, here we are. This works. And if you follow the same convictions when you create your characters, if you're creating your own characters and follow those rules, how are your characters connected? You know, connect your characters, and that's one thing that makes Cypher work because the characters are motivated by the same thing on some level there or another because of their character connections.
Yeah. Um, Nico expands on his reasoning here because one of the things that I always come across when I see new people starting to play an RPG is that they will usually have at least one person in the group that has either played it already or at least has played an RPG. I know it was that way for me, but what about groups that have absolutely no experience at all? I think most books, I could be wrong about this but most books have a section towards the beginning that explain and like break it down narratively, where they'll have like an example of play written out in the book.
Yep.
Most books have that. And I know that's not what you're talking about, Nico. I know that you know that, but
I I,
yeah.
I get what they're saying, but what you're saying kind of supports that. And just so you know, I come from a time when guess what? Nobody else played the game. Um, my brother
Yeah.
literally brought the white box D&D home and handed it to me. He was in the Marine Corps, and he handed it to him. He's like, "Here, I think you'll like this." And this was in 1977. So me and my friends, I read the little pamphlets like 4 times, and then I got my friends together and we started fooling around. And when I look back on those days, it was a train wreck. I mean, disaster zone. We were saying things like Paladin instead of Paladin, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
one time we figured out, I don't know how where the math came from, but somehow we figured out that a third level character had like a plus 20 to hit and damage. It was just all over the place.
Yeah.
But we learned,
Hmm.
you know, you guys live in a golden age. No, you guys live in a diamond age of gaming because
Yeah.
you can just go to YouTube and go, give me an example of play,
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and so you guys have tutorials built in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a useful thing as a concept to like further answer your question, Nico. I think it's a useful thing as a concept, but I also agree with Dean that there's so many sources right now for that kind of thing outside of the game itself, um, that you'd almost never need it, I think. Because like, yeah, like YouTube, there are so many streams now of so many different systems. There are tutorials and stuff like there's so like video tutorials and like forums for asking questions and stuff like that. So I think it's nice if that sort of thing is bundled in, but I don't see it being necessary as like having something included with the actual product. That said, I will also say that when we learned Pathfinder, literally none of us knew how to play it or had ever played it before, and that starting adventure and the box set was super useful because it literally it broke down. It broke down like step by step how you build a character, and that was extremely
Yeah.
extremely helpful. Um, that kind of stuff, those sort of simplified rules, I think that's a good placeholder for uh, like an actual tutorial adventure. But that's just my opinion on that. I also think TTRPGs still have a lot of room to improve their onboarding process. Yeah, I feel like that's probably true. Um, but I do think that the like having like the simplified rules or like um I know Caitlin has talked to me before of like onboarding people with RPGs by starting out with lasers and feelings and then sort of building up from there.
Hmm.
Um and like starting out with a really simple RPG and then just sort of building to the more complex ones and
I instantly thought of Foo, but yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
um, and I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. I onboarded my wife. Okay, my wife never
Yeah.
touched a RPG in her life. She only knew, the horror story side of what Dungeons and Dragons was. Had
Right.
no clue.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't use a system. We didn't roll a single dice. We just spent a couple of days, and I did it with a couple of different genres, about 3 different genres with her, kind of one-shotish, where we were just these other characters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Come up with a character. I came up with a baseline scenario. Well, honey, let's just say your character, let's because she's a nurse. So first thing I did was gave her something she related to. Let's just say your character is a nurse, but she works in, the Nevada desert at a special government facility hospital. Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And we broke it down. My character was a guy laying in a bed with amnesia, and I played it more like a drama as opposed to going in anything
Mm-hmm.
fanciful.
Right.
But we never rolled a die.
Hmm.
You progress that, a few more times with a couple of other different things. You know, now she runs No Thank You Evil for with her grandchildren.
Hmm.
That's
You
awesome.
know, and
Nice.
so I think you really gotta kind of know your audience and figure out the right approach.
Jason C. Art says, AD, can you have your wife call my girlfriend because she won't go near any games?
Oh,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like that's an interesting thought that there. And I see where you're coming from, Nico, with the idea, because like I know that, and I think the most common situation is that there is always at least one person who has played an RPG or who has played the one that you're trying to play. So I think that's another thing that I would say that is makes it less important. But because like every single experience that I've ever had, whether was with a new game system or whatever, like there was always at least one person who understood uh, at least enough to explain it to other people. Um, and I think there's some like if somebody picks up a book and they're like, I want to run this game. There's something about the people who decide that they want to run a game that will compel them to go forward and say, I'm going to learn enough about this to teach other people. So, yeah, I don't know. Geek Out says, I wish that was my experience. Which having people with experience or yeah, which one? Drax says, I watched a ton of campaigns before ever playing a TTRPG, and that helped me a ton. Yeah. That can be helpful. Having an example. And Geek Out says, I didn't know TTRPGs existed until I was 30. Oh, man. Well,
Well,
I'm glad you're here now.
I mean, geek outs, but just yeah, that's so funny. So you understand how long I had to live in obscura, right? You know, how many times I would mention a tabletop RPG, and I lived through an era where I couldn't say Dungeons and Dragons because if I said Dungeons and Dragons, you know what? I was a devil worshiper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was, opening the gateways for the Antichrist.
Yeah. Caro Cat says, I introduced my friend to TTRPGs using Honey Heist. Oh, yeah. Honey
Oh,
Heist.
cool.
It's,
Cool.
that's one of the, like, one-page RPGs, right? Honey Heist is, like, a one-page RPG, I think. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
those,
I
like,
think
sort of simplified, like, they're interesting. For me, I think I've gotten to a point where that would never, it might be fun, but it wouldn't, like, scratch my RPG itch, you know what I mean? Like, I not to take anything away from those systems because I think and those games because I think that they can be so much fun. Like I played a Lasers and Feelings game at Gen Con with Caitlin and Bernadette who was GMing, and it was such a blast. But yeah, um,
That was a lot of fun.
yeah.
Oh, geek outs, man.
Whew.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I grew up. You grew up in the conservative West, and I understand.
Oof.
I had a few fights about my geeky ways too. But I actually had a principal at school that called all of our parents and told our parents that after school, our D&D club would stalk the teachers through the deserted hallways of school as if they were prey. And yes,
Wow.
oh yeah, there was a thing. Oh my God, there was a thing. Amazing. And actually almost got suspended because I was defending my hobby.
Hmm.
And it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have loved to roll with it.
I don't know if you guys wanted that era.
uh,
Yeah. No, I think I became aware. I became aware of, like D&D. I honestly don't even know when it was, but I remember seeing like a box set for like the starter set for 3.5 in a Barnes and Noble, and I remember looking at it and thinking it was really cool, and like um, I'm trying to think back, but I don't think I had any of the negative connotations of D&D at the time. I think I became aware of it just past just on the as it was gone.
You guys are born. You guys are just born lucky. That's all. You're born at the perfect time.
um let's see. Jason C. Art says, I first heard of D&D in Dynamite Magazine from around 1980.
Nice.
Nice. And Drac became aware of TTRPGs thanks to Callisto 6.
Hmm.
Man, that's still so wild to me that was your first experience with TTRPGs. I mean, it's a great experience to
It
have,
is, I'd
but
say. Mhm.
yeah. That was Lucas's break. He used it up. Yeah, that's what it was.
Mine was in high school, I think, at some point, or early high school.
Mhm.
And a friend of mine was, he was getting really into it, and I was really good friends with him and childhood friends. So we'd go over there on the weekdays or weekends, depending, and we did a lot of outdoor playing and just play as kids, like fantasy worlds and everything. So one day he's like exploding into this whole different reality that I have no clue about. And I think I'm lagging a little bit, but I'll continue with my story because I think
No,
my
you're
voice
good.
is still there. And so he's like, I'm learning this whole new system and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he tells me about D&D, and I'm like, okay, I don't really know what this is, but I will. He essentially asked me to come over one day and be his guinea pig because he was making up his own system already. So I went over, and that was what we did for weeks. Is just played for hours and hours. I had no idea what D&D was, except for I was stepping into a character and just pretending like I'd always done a few years prior
Mhm.
and almost forgotten. And it kind of brought me out of that, out of a transition that I was going into, I think, at the time. But that was my experience with D&D, and it was not like he was showing me a classical game. He was already ripping some of the rules out and applying it
Yeah.
to his own thing. And
Yep.
that's my experience, which was
Yeah.
pretty awesome, I would say, looking back.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that at all. That's I think that's kind of the reason why, and for me, I think that's why it's just stuck with me for so long because I was, just 8 years old, you know,
Hmm.
in
Wow.
'77, and they were, a year long of gaming, that late '76 and the early '77. I was still a kid, I was still, like you
Hmm.
said, in imagination mode. So I never lost it. It just got refined into, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I can use these, shiny math rocks to do wonderful things. I mean, I actually have dice on my desk right now that are older than both of you guys. You
Oh,
know,
cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got dice from 1982.
Damn.
There was
That's
a
That's 10
awesome.
place.
years older than me.
There was a place called Game Science. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it too clear, but this die, it doesn't have
Hmm.
like 15, 16, 17 on it.
Huh.
The tens have pluses next to them.
Interesting.
I'll have to take a
Huh.
picture of it for you guys
Hmm.
so you can see it,
Yeah.
but they have pluses instead of
Huh.
the whole number. So it's like a one with a plus next to it. So you knew that was an 11. Two with a plus is a 12, and so on and so forth. Just stuff like that. For me, it just expanded the whole idea of using my imagination. Now I have. Oh, I can quantify it with a rule now. Roll the die. Cool. you know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what happened to
It's
me.
funny because for me, it was kind of the opposite. Like, I got kind of turned off by that, right? The fact that, because what I wanted to do is do just like the imagination part of it and like the telling a cool story. And when I
Hmm.
found out that there were rules, I just felt like they were getting in my way, you know? So I kind of came from
I,
the opposite side.
I kind of felt the same way as well,
Hmm.
but until charts became a thing that I realized, and then realized
I
I love
love
rolling
charts.
on charts. Yes.
um,
Well, see, you guys love rolling on charts, and I went through a long chart time.
mhm.
Check out uh, the universal ability combat chart for the old Marvel superheroes, the face rip system from
Ooh,
TSR. Talk
yeah.
about charts. If you really wanted to do the chart thing, that was the bomb.
Ooh, that's
But
cool.
now I'm stuck on decks.
Mm.
I really dig decks now.
Hmm. I don't know that I've ever played a system that uses them. You're talking about like decks, like the card, like.
Yeah, I'm talking about like what Cypher system, the Cypher deck, and the You know,
Oh, you mean like they're the here. It's actually within
the
arm's reach.
accessories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I thought you meant like as a mechanic.
No,
Um,
no, no. I'm digging decks in the sense you guys talking about the randomized chart. The deck is even cooler because it's like, oh, here,
right.
take that. You know,
Yeah, no, I thought you meant like a system that uses the deck as like a mechanic, part of the mechanic, which I know that they exist, but I don't know if I've ever played one. But yeah, no, I
um,
love the Cypher decks. Like Freeman got the creatures deck, I think, and I got the
Yeah.
NPCs deck when we were at Gen Con. And
mm-hmm.
gosh, they're the perfect building blocks, right? Like you could draw something from it, and then you set it down. You can use it as is, or you could just modify it and build off of it.
I backed a Kickstarter a few months back, and it was all about decks, and the decks were actually each card is an adventure seed. You know, for
Mm-hmm.
different areas. So they've got like the coastline, they've got the cities, you know, they've got deserts, they've got
Yeah,
intrigue and so on and so forth. But it's like 18 decks, and they're all basically a deck like that for you to build a whole scenario with adventure
yeah,
seats. So that's pretty cool.
yeah. That's really cool. Yes, for the queen. Thank you, Drac. That's the one that I was thinking of that uses the decks as a mechanic. That's
Oh
the one
well,
that's
Papers.
yeah, that
Papers does it, and so does if you technically Savage Worlds does it.
mm,
Using the deck, they use the card deck for initiative and stuff.
yeah. That's another one that that's still like on my I still haven't played Savage Worlds.
So you might as well go ahead and get the Suede edition, which
Yeah.
is the Savage Worlds Adventure edition. As a matter of fact, I think the PDF is only about 10 or 15 bucks on Traxxer.
Hmm.
It's really
Oh,
inexpensive. Well,
cool.
it has been.
Hmm. Yeah. Um I saw oh, I forgot to weigh in on my end because everybody was talking about like how long it's been since they started playing and running games. I Gosh, okay. I think if you want to go like back to the actual beginning, the very first time that I played a TTRPG, I think I was let's see that. It's probably like 16 years ago. I was 12. Um but the first time I started running games was about 12 years ago. So, yeah. It's been a modest number of years, but it's it's yeah, it's weird to think about though,
Mm-hmm.
because it still feels weird to say that because I remember those times so clearly,
Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
it's
Trust
true.
me, I feel the same way,
Yeah.
guys. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's really crazy because I'm talking about 4 decades of this stuff. I've been doing it, and I want to be like Gary Gygax. There was a picture of Gary Gygax. He was 69 years old. He
Hmm.
wasn't in the best of health, but he's sitting in the bed, his oxygen tank on, stack of D&D manuals over here, some minis over here, a pile of dice right here, and he had the DMG in his hand, and he's like, it's like that's how I want to go, man. I was that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of going, that actually brings us to kind of the end of our show for tonight, um, which came like kind of snuck up on me. I glanced up. I was like, where are we at? And as it turns out, we are past. So, uh, not as much as we usually are past, but still past. Um, Minnesota goodbye time. Yes, Amethyst Cat Lady, you understand. Okay, so um, things to remember about rule of lore stuff. You can the next time we will be live. It feels very strange to say this because it still feels like it's distantly in the future. But the next time we will be live,
Yeah.
will be with our Tales from the Loop game, a short run game that will be starting on Wednesday, the 23rd. It came from the Loop run by our very own Caitlin Bruder and Drac, who's in the chat right now. is in that game. So yeah,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Pacific.
Pacific on Wednesday the 23rd. So yeah, definitely tune in for that. I will be here, but I will be here manning the mod cannons. And yeah, just kind of generally hanging out and providing some tech support and some emotional support. Um, and if you're not already on our Discord, you should consider joining our Discord because it is a fun place to be. We keep the conversations rolling even long after Ramblemancy has gone off the air, and plenty of links, gaming discussions, sharing the cool stuff that you're doing, all that kind of stuff. So
And always expect a nice good morning from either Geek Outs or our resident bard. I
yeah,
do appreciate those a
I
lot.
know. I've been. It's nice to wake up in the morning, open up Discord, and
Yeah.
and it's like morning, everybody.
Good
So
morning slash zone.
yes. Dean, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Well, I'm AlphaDean AD. You'll find me just about everywhere under that, under that moniker. But I'm also one third of the CU, Cypher Unlimited, largest Cypher system related fan run Discord server out there. We're 3,500 members and growing. Um, there's always a game going on our site. So if you guys really, ever want to come around, need to get in on a game or something, there's always something going on. We think we do have games run daily. Um, we also have a Cypher Unlimited YouTube channel and Twitch channel. So we are going to be doing a lot more live streams, but all of our recordings and everything are right on our Cypher Unlimited YouTube channel. And those always make it up by the next day. Lastly, you know what? We do have a store. You can check us out on TeePublic and all of that good stuff and get you some nice Cypher System gear. Um, we have a coffee if you want to, support us in any way. If you like the kind of stuff we like to talk about, because we're like these guys, but we kind of have a little bit more directed sometimes instead of just having a ramble show. Because I'll go like off on tangents.
Yeah, I could just imagine in a ramble. I'm already seeing Anthony just sort of like head to temples, just
No, normally what it is no. This is what happens. Dean, hold on.
I can see that. I can see that.
But that's me. That's Cypher Unlimited. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. But yeah, come on out, hang out with us. We would love to have you. And yes, rule of lore. You always need more rule of lore. Lucas, Freeman, John. These guys are awesome. I love them. They're great young men, and they're going to be doing some great things out here. Follow them, enjoy them. Come over and hang out with us if you want the old guy's perspective. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that follow, Jason CR. Thank you so much. And Dean, thank you for being here and also for
Thank
your your kind words. Thank you. We will be like I said, we'll be back on Wednesday with our premiere of It Came from the Loop. And actually, by the way, this is another important thing that I forgot to say. If you are on our Discord and are subscribed here on Twitch, you actually can get some of our Patreon rewards, and you're gonna be like those of you who've been watching Infinite Horizon. You're gonna be wanting those because like just this week we had one of the I put up one of the character journals that went up, and there's another one coming very soon that is already written and recorded, and it's going to be uploaded very soon, and you're going to want to hear it because it's extremely good. So just some final thoughts there. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I'm going to see, let's see, I'm going to see if there's anybody that we can raid right now. Because I suspect, I suspect that we have, let's see. And if any of you have any suggestions, do feel free to shoot them my direction because I've got I see that MCDM is streaming right now, as well as Saving Throw and Q Times. You know what? Why don't we go raid Q Times? Let's go raid Q Times. We don't usually get to do that because we're never streaming at this like a time when we can do that. So I think B-Dave is over there running. Is it? I actually didn't check. But
Rage Across New York?
that's okay. That's the one. Yeah, that's the werewolf game that they're doing over there. So
That's cool.
let's go ahead and do that.
Werewolves from New York or something. I don't know. I feel like that's an actual movie.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Mm,
That was the Eddie
Oh.
Murphy vampire movie.
I've got to see that.
It wasn't terrible.
Eddie Murphy, was he a vampire?
Yes, he was the vampire.
Interesting.
All right. I've got that raid set up. So again, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Dean, thank you for being with us and for chatting
you.
with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
it's-
Thanks a lot.
Always a pleasure chatting with you. So we'll see you hopefully Wednesday, but if not, we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Let's go raid Q Times, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good time.